future is approaching fast. Don't blink. Welcome to the Auto Brief News, coming to you live from our Swiss studio. I'm Amber Light, your resident digital architect, telemetry obsessive, and today, the bearer of highly controversial news.
And I'm Jim Khana. Keep the shiny side up, mate. I am the resident historian, the analog defender, and a man whose blood pressure has been steadily rising ever since I opened my email inbox this morning.
It is Friday, June 19th, 2026. On Fridays, we host The Studio, our space to unpack the most emotive, passion-driven press releases in the automotive industry. And this week, Peugeot dropped a bombshell. They have officially opened orders for the new E-208 GTi, a 100% electric hot hatch claiming best-in-class performance.
Amber, you wrote a blog post about this car on our website, theautobrief.news. You called it The Electric Shock. Peugeot reboots the GTi legend. I read it. I read the press release. I understand the physics. But I am going to state this right now, unequivocally, on the record. I am drawing a line in the sand. This car is an imposter.
I knew it. I knew the letters GTI would short-circuit your analog brain.
It's not a short circuit. It's a matter of etymology. GTI, Grand Touring Injection. Injection, Amber, as in fuel injection, a mechanical system that physically sprays atomized combustible liquid into a cylinder to create tiny, glorious explosions. Where is the fuel injector on a 54 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery?
We will get to the semantics of the badge in a moment, Jim, because I promise you, the engineering underneath this car deserves your respect, regardless of what they glued to the tailgate. But before we dive into the schematics, let's hear from the folks who keep our analog gears turning.
This segment is fueled by echoesoftheroad.com, vintage gear design for car enthusiasts and anyone who believes true beauty has mileage. Echoesoftheroad.com is your definitive apparel store of vintage car culture.
All right, let's bring the Peugeot E-208 GTi onto the diagnostic lift. Let's set the badge aside for just 1 minute, Jim, and look at the hardware. Because Peugeot didn't just hand this to their marketing department, they handed it to Peugeot Sport, the exact same motorsport division based in Satory that runs their 9x8 hypercar program in the World Endurance Championship.
I will admit, when I saw the words Peugeot Sport, my ears perked up. They know how to build a chassis.
They absolutely do. They took the M4 Plus electric motor and completely overhauled the electronic management using motorsport-derived control software. It produces 281 horsepower and a massive 345 newton-meters of torque. That gets this B-segment hatch from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in an astonishing 5.5 seconds.
It's fast. Any electric car can be fast in a straight line, but let's do some quick math. The press release boasts about a power-to-weight ratio of 5.5 kilograms per horsepower. If you have 281 horsepower and a ratio of 5.5, that means the car weighs roughly 1,545 kilograms. Amber, the original Peugeot 205 GTi from the 1980s, weighed 875 kilos. You've added the weight of an entire grand piano to the chassis.
It is an electric vehicle, Jim. Battery mass is an unavoidable reality of the current chemical architectures. But it is how they manage that mass that is brilliant. Let's talk about thermal management. You always complain about EVs overheating on a track and going into limp mode.
Derating, yes. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. You're halfway up an alpine pass, you're in a rhythm, and suddenly the computer decides the battery is too warm and cuts your horsepower in half. It ruins the drive.
Exactly. And Christophe Oriot, the project manager at Peugeot Sport, specifically addressed this. They applied their WEC motorsport knowledge to the battery thermal management. They designed a dynamic coolant flow strategy that dictates exactly when and how much coolant is delivered based on extreme temperature demands. The result? You can drive up a mountain pass in sport mode and the car will never derate. It provides constant, unlimited power regardless of the driving conditions.
Okay, I respect that. If you are going to build a performance EV, you cannot let the software play nanny with the throttle when things get hot. That is proper motorsport engineering.
And the chassis modifications are even more mechanical. They didn't just use torque vectoring software to mask the weight, they physically altered the geometry. The body is lowered by 25 millimeters. The tracks are widened by 56 millimeters at the front and 28 millimeters at the rear. It sits on 18-inch wheels with 215/40R18 Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires.
And I see they kept the original 17mm front anti-roll bar, but added a massive 31mm anti-roll bar to the rear to optimize the cornering behavior with that heavy underfloor battery. That's a classic hot hatch setup. Stiffen the rear to induce a bit of liftoff oversteer. But Amber, there is one line in this press release that actually made me smile. Under the traction heading. Read it.
Mechanical limited slip differential integrated into the reduction gearbox.
A mechanical limited slip diff on an EV. Do you realize how rare that is? Almost every electric car relies on braking the inside wheel to simulate a differential. It cooks the brakes and feels completely unnatural. Peugeot actually spent the money to put a physical mechanical differential in the gearbox to drag you out of a corner. That is hardware. That is analog soul sneaking into the digital age.
I told you they took this seriously. They also utilized specific springs and exclusive dampers with hydraulic bump stops, a technology taken directly from their WEC hypercar. And the brakes are 355mm discs up front with fixed 4-piston calipers. But here is the piece of data that I think will finally win you over. When you put the E-208 GTi into sport mode, regenerative braking is completely disabled.
They turn off the regen. Oh, thank the motoring gods. Finally, a manufacturer admits that one-pedal driving has no place on a racetrack. If I want to brake, I will use my left foot and step on the 355mm discs. I don't want the car suddenly slowing down just because I breathed off the throttle mid-corner to transfer the weight.
So you agree with me. The engineering is phenomenal. Peugeot Sport has built a highly capable, thermally managed, mechanically gripping electric hot hatch.
I completely agree. The engineering team in Satory deserves a standing ovation. They did everything right. But the marketing department needs to be fired.
Here we go.
Amber, it's about heritage. The GTi badge is sacred. The 205 GTi, the 309 GTi. Those cars were defined by their lightweight, frantic internal combustion engines. They vibrated. They smelled like unleaded fuel. They were raw. This E-208 is brilliant, but it is a digital weapon. It is a 1.5-ton electric synthesizer.
But the philosophy of the GTi isn't about the fuel injector, Jim. It's about the democratization of speed. It's about taking an ordinary, affordable B-segment commuter car, stripping it out, stiffening it up, and turning it into a giant killer. The E-208 GTi does exactly that for the electric era.
No, the philosophy is tied to the mechanics. If this car is as revolutionary as Peugeot claims, and the telemetry suggests it is, then it deserves its own legend. Create a new label. Call it the Peugeot E-Sport. Call it the PSE, like they did with the 508. By slapping GTI on the back, they are relying on nostalgia. They are putting a digital ghost in the clothes of my childhood heroes.
I think heritage cosplay is a bit harsh. Look at the interior and the aesthetic choices. They've done a beautiful job honoring the past. The 18-inch wheels are perforated, referencing the iconic Hold Pepperpot wheels of the 205 GTi. Inside the GTi cockpit, you have red carpets, red seatbelts, and red stitching on the Alcantara steering wheel.
Yes, they painted the seatbelts red. Congratulations. But it's still missing the heartbeat. I understand why they did it. They want to sell cars, and the GTi badge carries 40 years of cachet. And for €42,900, which is the starting price in France, it's actually a compelling package. I just wish they had the courage to let this brilliant EV stand on its own 2 feet, instead of leaning on the 1980s.
All right, before Jim completely disavows the entire Peugeot marketing department, let's turn to our audience. It's time for the community poll.
Let's see where the helmet mascot is driving today.
Every week on our social feeds, represented by our helmet mascot, we pose a highly specific scenario. This week, You are behind the Alcantara steering wheel of the Peugeot E-208 GTi, painted in oakenite white. You are attacking the Route Napoleon in the south of France. Sport mode is engaged. Regenerative braking is disabled, and the mechanical limited slip differential is pulling you out of a tight hairpin. What 1970s cassette tape is playing in the cabin?
You are in a French hatchback that is trying very hard to be rebellious. It has red seatbelts and a point to prove. You need something fast, chaotic, and decidedly French. I am choosing Plastic Bertrand's Ça plane pour moi. It's a brilliant, frantic slice of 1970s francophone punk rock. It's analog, it's messy, and it's everything a real GTI should be.
A classic Jim Khana choice, visceral and chaotic. I, however, am looking at the advanced electronic architecture of the E-208. It is a French machine powered entirely by electricity and synthesized control software. Therefore, the only logical choice is Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygène. It's a pioneering work of French electronic music. It's synthesized, it's precise, and it perfectly matches the silent 281 horsepower wave of torque pushing you up the mountain. Let us know who curates the better soundtrack by voting on our poll at theautobrief.news.
Jean-Michel Jarre. You're going to fall asleep at the wheel, Amber. A hot hatch demands adrenaline, not ambient synth pop.
Adrenaline comes from the G-forces, Jim, not the stereo. All right, it's time to face the judges. The garage rating. Green light, amber light, or red light. Jim, you've been conflicted all episode. Let's have it. The Peugeot E-208 GTi.
I'm going to divide my verdict. To the engineers at Peugeot Sport in Satory, you built a phenomenal machine. A mechanical differential, hydraulic bump stops, proper thermal management, and you let the driver control the brakes. The hardware is brilliant. But the badge is a lie. I cannot, in good conscience, give a green light to a car that steals the injection nomenclature without a drop of petrol. It is an amber light. Great engineering, lazy marketing.
I expected nothing less from the analog soul. I, however, am looking at the complete package. The democratization of high-performance electric mobility is crucial. By pairing a 54 kilowatt-hour battery with a 281 horsepower motor and applying WEC-level thermal management, Peugeot has proven that EVs can survive the mountain pass. And utilizing the GTI badge is a brilliant way to communicate that intent to the masses. It is a confident, unhesitating green light from me.
Well, at least we disagree again. Order has been restored to the universe.
That it has. That wraps up this episode of The Studio. You can read my full blog post, The Electric Shock, Peugeot Reboots the GTI Legend, in our garage archive at theautobrief.news.
And be sure to sign up for our Friday newsletter, The Telegram. I'll be writing a 2,000-word essay on the definition of the word injection, typed exclusively on a ribbon typewriter.
I look forward to editing the typos. I'm Amber Light. The future is approaching fast.